Hi friends! Today we are going to be doing a repot of two of my newest plants, and I'm also going to go through some questions that some of my Instagram followers asked me. I'm going to repot my philodendron glorious, which just arrived in the mail about 2 to 3 weeks ago. So it's pretty much acclimated, and this was shipped from the New York area, and I think that it could really benefit from a moss pole, so I'm going to be adding that. And then I also have this syngonium erythrophyllum, or red arrow syngonium. I just got this from my favorite nursery that opened back up yesterday, and I've wanted this plant for a while. I had one before, but the one that I got had mealybugs and it just didn't make it. It was just completely infested, so I'm really happy that I have this one. First, I'm going to start with the syngonium. I'm just going to be repotting it into this gray terracotta pot. You can get these probably at your local nursery for just like a couple dollars, but I really like the color of it, especially with the dark color of the leaves. I think it looks really pretty. I'm just going to be potting this into my normal chunky potting mix. It has just regular potting soil in it, a lot of perlite. I think usually I put in some orchid bark and just some chunky cocoa coir just to help with drainage. And then there also are a few pieces of leca in it just because of other mixes that I've had that I just end up tossing back in if I repot something and I feel like the soil is still okay. So the mix that I have is probably going to have a bunch of that stuff in it. Okay, so the first question that I have is, how did I start collecting plants? So basically, I moved to a new city at the start of the pandemic because I had graduated school and I got a new job that was about 3 hours away from where I was living. And I didn't have like a lot of furniture or anything, and my only hobby at the time was doing makeup. But the industry that I worked in, I didn't really wear a lot of makeup, and with like wearing masks and everything now, sometimes it's just kind of like a pain to wear makeup and like do fun stuff with the mask, just because it kind of gets messed up and you can't see most of it. And my cousin was really into houseplants, and she said that it was just overall like a really relaxing hobby to have outside of like working and everything. So I got a couple houseplants because I thought that just in general it would probably make me feel better to have them in the house, and I thought they were really pretty. So I started by getting a snake plant. I got a golden pothos and also a photonia, and I had no idea how to grow any of them. I had these plant pots that I got that were like 12-inch plant pots for 4-inch plants, and they all lived. I potted them into like pots that were like maybe like 4 to 6 inches bigger than they should have been for the plant size at the time. And I still have one of my snake plants, like the pieces my grandma has. The nerve plant eventually died just because I forgot to water it, because Photonia are kind of finicky when it comes to water, and usually when they like look like they're dead, you can water them and they perk right back up, but I let mine get way too dry and it was just crispy and I couldn't save it. And then my golden pothos, I still have pieces of. It grew really like bushy, and then I just cut it all back, and that was like the first plant that I learned how to propagate. So those were my first 3 plants, and then since then, like, my cousin and I, for pretty much the remainder of 2020 and most of 2021, would just go to a bunch of different nurseries, and we would go to like Lowe's and Home Depot and all the big box stores, and we would just like look for plants. And it was kind of nice having like a friend to do it with, because we pretty much could get more because we would just get one of each plant and we would split it. So it was cool because like I feel like our collections grew like even faster because we had people that we could like split with immediately. But yeah, that's kind of how I started getting into houseplants, and it just kind of hasn't stopped since then. So I think this is going to be the perfect size. Just gonna take some and put it at the bottom. Okay. The next question that I have is, what is my favorite houseplant genus? It used to really always be philodendron, and I really felt like that for a really long time, but recently I feel like Hoya have kind of like crept up into that spot. I never really liked Hoya before, but I feel like once I got I think it was the Australis Lisa, it was just pretty much like over. Like, all I could really think about was Hoya and looking at all the different types and watching more videos on Hoya care. And now I think I have more Hoya than anything in my collection, and it's the thing that I'm constantly looking at. Plus I feel like a lot of them, at least for me, have been more accessible, like the ones that I really want. And I feel like they haven't been as expensive, which has been nice. I didn't use a potting mat for the longest time, and I would just get dirt all over the place, and then I didn't realize like how much was wasted just because I would spill it and then like vacuum it up, because it would end up having like dog hair or something in it, and I didn't want to reuse it. But having the potting mat is nice because I can pretty much save all of it. Alright, so it looks like this one is pretty much good to go. This is the red arrow, and I'm excited to see how it grows. I really I wanted one of these, and I got it last year around October because I thought that it was like really cool for like Halloween. But the one that I got was infested with mealies, and it pretty much just like immediately died whenever I sprayed it with like treatments and everything to try to get rid of them. It was not happy at all, but the mealies were like in every single like nook and cranny, like in the leaves and the new leaves, and like the part where like the leaves come out, they were just like wedged in there, and it was just kind of like no hope. So I'm excited to see this one grow. And I don't know what I'm going to do, if it's just going to stay like as a trailing plant or if I'm going to try to stake it. I guess we'll see later this year. Okay, so the next one is the philodendron glorious. This one I just got in the mail a couple weeks ago from a seller from New York, and I wanted to give it time because it shipped and it was like really cold when it shipped, just to like acclimate, so that way I could repot it. But it looks like it could really benefit from a moss pole. It's also kind of growing like weird shaped, so I'm hoping that I can use like plant velcro to kind of fasten it to the pole. But I'm gonna make the pole first because I think that will be easier, and I'm gonna pot it in this 6-inch terracotta pot. So I accidentally hit the mute button on my mic when I was getting my box of sphagnum moss, so I'm just going to do a voiceover for this part. But basically I got this plastic net mesh from Joann Fabrics, and I use it as the back of my moss pole. It just kind of helps keep some of the moisture in. I used to use acetate, which was a little bit better with that just because it was a solid back and not mesh. But I'm not too worried about the sphagnum moss drying out quickly because it'll be in my cabinet where the humidity is high. And then I use fish string to tie the sides of the moss pole together, so that way it gives you that nice C curve. I do it a couple inches apart all the way up and down the length of the moss pole. And the next question that I got was, what is my top wishlist plant? And right now it's the philodendron gigas because I like the dark velvety leaves. It reminds me of the melanochrysum, but I am not doing too hot with the melanochrysum right now. It basically put out a bunch of tiny leaves at the top that just kind of died off, so I might hold off on getting the gigas until I can get the melanochrysum under control. So then I basically just put damp sphagnum moss in the top portion of the moss pole that will be standing above the soil in the pot, and I leave the bottom section open for the whole height of the pot because I can fill it in with soil, and then that will give the roots more soil to grow into, and I don't have to use as much sphagnum moss. And then I just pull off all of the peat moss that this plant was growing in before it was shipped to me. I'm going to use more of a chunky potting mix for this plant because it's a philodendron, and usually the peat moss doesn't dry out quick enough for me, and I end up giving plants root rot whenever I use it. The next question that I got is, what's my favorite color? And my favorite color is actually green, and it's always been green since about middle school, so I guess it's fitting that I like plants now. The next question that I got is, if I could travel anywhere in the world, where would I go? I think I would go to Japan just because of the cuisine, and I'd really want to go during the Cherry Blossom Festival because I think it would be really cool to see. And then after I attach the plant and put this all together in a pot, I use plant Velcro to attach the plant to the moss pole, and I also leave a couple extra pieces of plant Velcro around the top so it's ready to go when the plant is ready to be attached further up, and it also helps keep the extra moss from falling out of the moss pole if I move the pot around. The last question that I got is, what is my favorite thing about myself? I think my favorite thing is that I'm always willing to try new things. That's kind of how I got into houseplants, and I think that's kind of what led me to finding a community that I feel more part of with the houseplant community, which has been awesome, especially during the pandemic and everything. So that is both the philodendron glorious and the syngonium erythrophyllum potted up. I'm really excited to see the glorious take off and hopefully kind of straighten out going up the pole, since it was kind of growing awkwardly because it wasn't staked or put on a pole yet. And then I'm also really excited to have the erythrophyllum in my collection. I think it looks cool in the color pot that I picked. Anyways, thanks for hanging out with me today. If you're interested in seeing more plant content, make sure that you subscribe and ring the bell so that way you are notified of whenever I put out a new video. And if you have any good ideas on videos that you would like to see from me, make sure to leave them in the comments below. I hope you have the best day and that you treat yourself to that new plant that you've been wanting, and I'll see you in the next video.